Hey everybody, I am Tommy and you are on the lifeboat. Look what I got. It's Moose. Oh, don't get crazy on me. He can get a little wild, that cat. He actually can get a little bit wild. Hold on one second. Sorry, right? It's people. I had a text message coming in. So, welcome to the boat. Lisa Trimble gifted a turning somebody green. Thank you, Lisa Trimble. Jason, good to see you. Sandy Wendy, what's happening? Hello, Squirrel Girl. Always a pleasure. Miss Sunrise Dawn, you got a bone to pick with me? Uh-oh. Brenda, good to see you. Dennis N, you may have to take a number. Scooby-Doo. Jam, how are you? Allison Metcalf Palumbo, good to see you. Mrs. G. Way what I did 40 years ago. Congratulations. A Brewsty, good to see you. I'm not that wise, I promise you. Gemini Girl 65, good to see you. Lisa Black, what's happening? Mach. Yeah, Moose gets rowdy this time of night, sadly. He's really a good boy most of the time. Layla. I'm doing well. My girlfriend was so relieved that you were back. She was very, very worried about you, Layla. I'm not even being funny. She really was. Martha, good to see you. She was very, very relieved that when she heard me. She told me after the show, she said, boy, when I heard you singing Layla, I was so happy. Martha, glad you're here. Sweet Liberty, good to see you. Helena, flock of swan boats. Doing well. I'm trying anyway. I'm trying. Glasses are fogging up here. Hold on one second because I can't see a dang thing with these things off. Really just don't see that well with them without them anymore. Kristen Melinda, how are you? Mary, good to see you. Jamie Palmer is here. Your kitty Chevy gets squirrely this time of night too. Yeah, it checks out. You have a kitty named Chevy? All right. Anna, good to see you. Good to see you. If I missed the first one, I apologize. Glad you're here. Jane Ulrich, I'm glad you are here. Always an honor. Wilfred Harry, how are you? It happens with age. Boy, oh boy, that ought to be a t-shirt. Debbie P, good to see you. You loathed water, but now that's all you can drink. You know what? I was never a fan of water either. I used to make jokes about what fish do in it and all that stuff. Yarn Prepper, how you been? Hold on one second. Dee Dee Razzle Dazzle, good to see you. Shannon Smith, how are you? Lena in love. Woohoo! Insomnia is my lifeboat tonight. 410 there. Oh man, that's tough. Hello, Laura Dupree. Good to see you. Quibs loves you. Every single time your name comes up, she goes, oh, I love her. Every time. Literally. Although she does that with about 90% of you. Boris Cruz, good to see you. You're saying hello from DC, and a political figure says hello. Yeah, I'm going to avoid the political figure stuff because I won't make any friends, and I'm not trying to do that. No matter which one I pick, I'm going to make somebody angry. Bison, good to see you. Glad you're here. Bison 360, that is. Hello from Texas. Excellent. Lived there for a while. So did my brother. Diane, good to see you. In fact, he lived there longer than I did. You don't like you don't like plain water, but I'd like bubbles. Oh yeah, you know what? San Pellegrino, I think, is my favorite water of all time. Huge fan of it. Milwaukee, how are you? I think that's my favorite anyway. Well, Michelle, I'm glad that I'm with you too. Gary Mackey, good to see you. You know, I have to apologize. Gary's great. Gary super chatted last night, and nevertheless, every time I see the name Mackey, you know what I want to say, don't you? Honestly, especially because I run this channel. Think of what I want to say. I want to say, okay, drugs are bad, okay. That's right. There's a good list of rules right there. He did. That's right. Kristen Melinda. Johnny lived in that city for a long time. When is the book coming out? Well, here's the deal. I don't know how much I'm supposed to be telling you this. Hey, Johnny Scoville, are you in the house? don't know if my brother's around because he could probably tell you more than I could. And I don't know how much I'm supposed to be telling you. Um, here's what I will tell you. Here's what I will tell you. There's when you finish a project like this, very often the next step is a screenplay to base it off of the script, and they want that done. So Johnny is already sort of. It's going to be a while for him. For me, it's over. It really is. For me, it's over. Now I just have to wait for the editors and all of those people and the art people and everybody to get this thing so that they can sell it. I don't know what happens from there. I'm just the dumb one. Incarnate, good to see you. I mean, honestly, I'm just the one that I just committed the crimes that people wrote about. I'm not even smart enough to write about it. You knew you were dropping some, but haven't stepped on a scale in over a year. Well, I absolutely recommend to anybody not stepping on a scale for a year, especially if you're doing the right thing, because it feels fantastic when you do and realize that you've dropped weight. But a number on a scale shouldn't be what it's about, right? It should be about feeling healthy. It should be about feeling better, feeling comfortable. Lime and mint, and I'm down. Love, yeah. You know what? You love flavored San Pellegrino. I don't. For me, I just love the regular ones. I know a lot of people. My ex-wife was a big fan of the flavored San Pellegrino. I just like their regular, sort of just a little bit less sparkling than the average sparkling water. I think I had my girlfriend try it the other day. She had not had one before, and she said, "Tastes like somebody already drank it." That's what Quibs thought it tasted like somebody had already drank it, and it is just a little bit less, less sparkling than most sparkling waters. But I like that. Hey, Angie Mo. Labor Day weekend. Yes, it is. I forgot it's Labor Day weekend. And I shouldn't because it's kind of a big one, isn't it? You live in the desert, so I like my water straight up and lots of it. I live in the desert most of the time too, and I'm a big fan. I am a huge fan. And loving the parts of you that aren't so perfect. Well, that's a good. Gotta love that. Have I tried hint fruit water? Delicious. I have not, but I need to because that sounds good. Hint. So I'm guessing it's not a very, it's not a heavy overbearing. I don't like the overbearing waters. Reese got you hooked on those electrolytes. I thought they would be salty. No, they're fantastic. I live on those things, man. You cannot imagine how many of those I do, Kristen Melinda. Because my girlfriend makes them for me. If I forget or if I'm not up on it, Quibs will just crank them out and hand them to me one right after the other. I drink a lot of those electrolytes and I dig them. I have yet to find a flavor of those electrolytes that I don't like, which is really amazing if you think about it, because some of them are pretty funky. Cucumber and I can't remember, but there's some that sound really odd when you read it. But I've enjoyed all of those so far. And I think they keep you healthier for real. 3-day weekend, says Squirrel Girl. Yep. Hold on. I got to blow this up. My eyes are just not good today. I do, especially now that number was so close to 200 pounds. Thanks, rounding up to 300. Would have thought 209 possible just a couple of years back. Wow. How cool is that? Right? Tommy Bird was closing in on the 3 bills. I was too, Tommy. I was up around 289 pounds, 87, 89, right in there. So, yeah, I got up around 300 also. But Tommy was up close to 300. Now is at 209. You got to love that. Tommy, believe it or not, I come in at 190. If I eat a lot, I'll get up around 200. If I don't, I'll stay around 190. But that's where I'm at today is 190. I thought I was more than that. But Quib said to me, "No, you're nowhere near that." And then I haven't admitted to her yet, but she was right. Hold on. Oh, I hate Pedialyte of any kind. Pedialyte is the nastiest stuff on planet Earth. I never made my kid drink anything that I didn't taste. It was just because my family never tasted stuff, and they would say to me, "It doesn't taste bad." And I remember as a kid thinking, "How the hell do you know? You didn't taste it." Right. So I always tasted whatever Spanky had to do as a medicine. Right. And I would always say, look, it's not that bad. You can get through there. And I remember tasting Pedialyte and going, no, you're right. You don't have to do this. I'll find something else. This is just awful. I can't do it. Jerry. Well, I'm glad that you're relating to it. I really am. I'm glad that you're relating to it. Here's the thing. This is kind of tongue in cheek, right? The today's subject. It's kind of a joke, but it's not, right? I talk about this all the time with friends of mine, especially people from the life from back in the day or convicts or whatever. I have become tragically unhip for real. Like if I show up in person, I am the ultimate buzzkill. Everybody assumes, oh crap, here comes Scoville, right? He doesn't want anybody smoking, drinking, smiling, laughing. Yeah. A little bit of white grape juice to a 32-ounce glass of water. That sounds genius. It really does. That sounds fantastic. Sorry. I'm here's the problem. Sorry, people. I'm not very bright. I blew it up. I made it bigger in size, and when you do that, nothing moves. It's memories of fruit. The grape hint tastes like a melted Jolly Rancher. Oh, now you got me. I'm hooked. I'm hooked. A melted Jolly Rancher. You had me at melted Jolly Rancher. I am on a weight loss journey and have lost 5.8 pounds in a month. Good for you. How good does that feel? Right? By the way, let's just say for the sake of argument, you're 800 pounds, right? You're 800 pounds. If you lost 5.8 pounds in the first month, you probably don't feel like you made much a dent, right? Much of a dent toward 800 pounds, but it's harm reduction. It's what we teach here. If you're moving forward, by the way, she's not 800 pounds, but if you're moving forward in any direction, right, you can pat yourself on the back. You don't have to. You don't have to eat an elephant in one bite. It's never going to work anyway, right? I've always loved that. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Doesn't matter how big anything is. You can get it down if you break it up into small pieces. Yeah. Yeah, Tommy Bird. Tommy says, I need to work on building muscle tone and gaining some strength back. Hard for a lazy fool like me. Uh, may I make a suggestion? Huh? Get yourself a motorcycle and ride it around, right? Like an off-road, on-road. I almost called them my in-laws, but it's Quib's mom and dad. They had a bike, the bike that Johnny J Rambo rode, the Yamaha XT250. It's an on-road, off-road, and enduro dual sport bike. And you can get on those and ride those around, and your legs and arms and every part of your body gets worked out. And the best part is you don't feel like you're working out, right? You're out there feeling like a little kid and acting silly. And at the end of the day, you are worked. It's better than a weight room because it's a hell of a lot more fun and you never give up on fun. Do, 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 do. Aw, Sherry, I love that. Well, we love you too. I really love that. I can't tell you how happy it makes me when people say things like that. You know, this is, you may not believe this, but we really do this for you guys. I mean, honestly, this is something that this is a labor of love. I get a lot out of this. It really helps me with my sobriety, but this is a labor of love. I would do this even if I wasn't happy with it. But currently, I'm very happy with it. Pedialyte is so foul. It really is. I know that Spanky loves me more because I didn't make him drink that foulness. Oh, stuff's so gross. Lisa Black, good to see you. Your 5-year-old loves grape Pedialyte. Kirsten Melinda, you're a therapist. You need to work with him because something is wrong. No kid likes that. That stuff tastes so bad. I am tragically unhip, sweet Liberty. You're very interested in the difference between sobriety and recovery. Well, you know what, Shannon Smith, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. You know why? Because this is a really interesting concept, right? What's the difference between sobriety and recovery? Sobriety, right, is the abstinence of any intoxicant, anything that gets you a buzz of any kind, right? Not doing that, that's sobriety. That's not what we preach here. Don't get me wrong. I would be happier if everybody here was sober, right? That would be a beautiful concept. If everybody here was sober, that would be great. However, realistically, the odds are not in our favor. So I view this very much like when you teach your kids about sex, right? You say, save it until you get married, right? You don't want to go out there and just give it away. Make it special, save it. However, if you don't, make sure you put on a con. Here's why, right? Pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, all of these different things we explain, right? We lead with, hey, let's try to shoot for abstinence. And then we say stuff like, I'd be so much happier if the only woman I had ever slept with was your mom, right? And usually we mean that. But regardless, we pitch abstinence, right? We preach abstinence. We beg for abstinence, but we teach safe sex because God forbid we don't want to end up grandparents, or we don't want to end up with our kids ending up with a life-threatening disease, sexually transmitted disease, right? So as much as we would like them to practice abstinence, we're going to assume that they might break down. So we're not going to leave it to chance and go, well, I don't need to teach them about condoms. I told them about abstinence, right? So she's not going to have sex until she's 27. I got nothing to worry about. Yee. Anybody else buying that? I don't know about you guys, but I remember when I was a kid, there was not much talking me out of anything, especially if it had something to do with my hormones, right? Forget about it. But recovery is a much more interesting thing, right? Because recovery doesn't necessarily have to be about sobriety, does it? Doesn't have to be about booze, doesn't have to be about drugs, doesn't have to be about any of that. Recovery, think about it in terms of an injury, right? You break your leg, you got to recover. Anything that we do that injures us requires recovery, yeah? So the concept of recovery is every day trying to make yourself better than the day before. A little different than sobriety, because for some people, sobriety may not come every day, right? Take me, for instance. Right before going live today, I ate my gummy, right? Because I don't know that I'm going to make a full hour, and I got to get up really early tomorrow. So, yeah. But I take THC every single night. Delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, not the fake stuff. I take real weed every single night. I take it in a gummy. Make no mistake, if I couldn't get it in a gummy, I would do it some other way. I'd smoke it or whatever. But the gummies are fantastic. They work perfectly. But that doesn't jive with sobriety. You understand? That is a substance that alters your brain chemistry. You catch a buzz off of this. This is a brain altering chemical. So obviously, that doesn't fit in with sobriety. However, it absolutely fits in with my recovery. Now, how can that be, Tommy? Well, because I need to sleep. I have to have sleep, and I have to have quality sleep. I have to have sleep where I don't have nightmares that have me sitting up in bed screaming and scaring the hell out of the person next to me, right? And being so terrified that 4 and 5 days go by without me sleeping. That's not going to work. And fortunately, weed was successful where all of the pharmaceuticals I tried were not. But recovery, Shannon Smith, recovery is what I want everybody here to be focused on. We all need to get better. All of us. Every one of us needs to get better. And we all need to heal, right? From trauma, unresolved and unhealed trauma from when we're kids. We all need to heal from that. Yeah. Everybody agree with that? You do agree that there is trauma in your life that you need to heal from. No one is dumb enough to think that that's not the case, right? We all believe that. Okay. That would be recovery. That would be recovering from that trauma. Now, how do you do that? You journal, You hire a therapist, you get a support group, a peer group of people that you can talk to, and you do not suffer in silence. Laura Lou, good to see you. Glad you're here. Hey, Muppet Lou. Sorry. Your husband suffers from that, says Muppet Lou. He's a recovering alcoholic. Everybody thinks he's a big buzzkill, but he's actually one of the funniest, easygoing guys you'd ever want to meet. Well, you know what? I'm blown away because people that I knew my entire life, when they find out what I do for work now, my friends don't like talking to me anymore, right? Because all of my friends did drugs. And to them, they've already made up their mind for what the lifeboat is before they ever step foot on it, right? Eesh, Tommy's a 12-stepper. He's a Bible thumper. He's, whatever, insert whatever cliche you'd like. Here, let's put that up there so people know what I was talking about. Laura Dupree says, congratulations, I'm on a weight loss journey too, down 16 pounds in 4 months. Slow but steady wins the race. Well, you know what? Harm reduction doesn't really matter how slow, right? It doesn't. I can't get over this. I can't remember anymore who said it, but it was last week, and somebody here on the crew of the lifeboat said, what's happening now is my sobriety and my harm reduction are meshing for the first time. They're coming together, right? Because over time, you're doing harm reduction. You haven't quit, but you're taking a little less and a little less and a little less. And eventually that sobriety and that harm reduction mesh, and all of a sudden you're not using chemicals anymore. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. Check out DDP Yoga Rebuild and Beyond. Don't know what that is, but it sounds great. Can't think of a better name. No, your harm reduction can begin tonight. Dang it says, can't think of a better name, says, dang it. Sitting here eating brownies. I guess my harm reduction begins tomorrow. How many brownies are in front of you? Let's go out on a limb and say about 8, right? Shot in the dark. Let's say there were about 8. You probably weren't planning on crushing every one of them, right? Or maybe you were. Maybe you were planning on knocking out all of them. Leave one. Leave one. Seems stupid, doesn't it? It's genius. Harm reduction is saying, I got to stop doing what I'm doing and taking action. If the action's this big, it's still taking action for real. So no matter how bad you screw up, you can still lift the nose back up, because a lot of times we end up crashing the thing directly into the ground and partying for 3 months because of a little slip up. You follow what I'm saying? So to me, harm reduction is so important, because as somebody realizes they're making a mistake, let's say you're sitting there with a 5-pound bag of Oreos and you're pretty much 3/4 of the way through it, right? Where the guilt starts crawling in. Look at that bag and go, you know what? I'd like to crush the rest of this, and I'm on a roll. I could do it easily, but I'm not gonna, right? I'm gonna stop. Now, you might have ate 3/4 of a 5-pound bag of Oreos, but you take back control. It seems this much, right? It's not. It's so much bigger than that. You're taking back control. It's a huge thing. Gary Mackey, thank you so much. Okay. People are turning green, and everybody looks better in green. Squirrel Girl, you're right. It is a daily fight. Yeah. Kristen Melinda, who's a professional, says, can't think of a better name. Don't beat yourself up. Sometimes for me, the sugar was the harm reduction. Yeah. No, that's no joke. Hey, Piano Mom. Celebrating my hubby's heavenly birthday with our kids. A&W root beer and a pipe smoke. You know what? I love that. I love that, Piano Mom. And I'm glad that you're here. I really am. And by the way, sometimes you can say something like Piano Mom just did, and it just seems like, hey, let me tell you what's going on. But sometimes, even when we have the best outward appearance and we're really kind of putting that brave face on and keeping a stiff upper lip and all of that jazz, sometimes it's a difficult thing to do, to go through the motions that we kind of have to do, especially after we lose somebody. Sometimes it's living as if, right? Living as if we've already kind of gotten over it when we haven't. Um, but coming here and talking about it to me feels like not suffering in silence. And I can't begin to tell you how happy that makes me, Piano Mom. I mean it. Very, very happy you're here. And you know what? I think about you because I just have such a great where you live. I know like the back of my hand. I really do. It's so ingrained in me that I can think of you driving down the street. So I don't know too many people on the boat that that I happen to know their hometown as well as I know yours, Piano Mom. Hey, Tampa B. What's happening, Tampa B? Good to see you. Mary Baronzoni, good to see you. Your son still became a father at 15. Ouch, Kabibble. Ouch. That's hard. That really is. But you know what? Harm reduction. It happens, right? It happens. Then what? Okay, now we got to do the best we can with the hand that we're dealt. And that's not just you, that's your boy, that's the child, that's everybody. We were talking about this yesterday on the boat. You know, there's sometimes the things that happen to us when we're kids are absolutely victimizing. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to remain a victim, but we sure as crap did get victimized as kids, a lot of us. It's just the way it is. Mount Kush full spectrum grown in Vermont helps me at night. Well, I'll be damned. Would that Mont Kush, would that be Montpelier? Mont? I'm familiar with Kush. Full spectrum grown in Vermont helps you at night. I take a 2-to-1 THC to CBN. So I take 30 milligrams THC, 15 milligrams CBN or CBN. And it knocks me out. But it's, of course, indica, heavy indica. Helena Flock of Swanboat says, I could really use those gummies if only Australia didn't suck. Well, there's that. Well, there is that. Yeah, you know something, Helena, I fought it for so long, and I fought it for so long because um, I was the captain of the lifeboat. Now I'm the admiral, but at the time I was the captain of the lifeboat, and I just didn't want to lie to everybody, and I didn't have the guts to come out here and say I'm going to take THC. I had never busted the chops at anybody on the boat, right, that needed to take weed for any reason. Never gave anybody crap about it, but it was different when it was going to be me doing it. It felt wrong. And there's actually a close friend of mine on the boat that talked me into it and said, "The hell are you doing? For real, it's fine taking duffel bags full of whatever they want to give you, whatever pharmaceutical poison they pick, but you won't try this. Doesn't make sense." And he was right. We were by you and didn't tell you. I am sorry, Miss Sunrise Dawn. You know what? This has happened to us before. Not you, but I've done this to other people, and some don't talk to me over it. Do you know that for real? This is a hard thing. And you know what? I'm not picking on you, Miss Sunrise Dawn, because this is a YouTube phenomenon. So I do want to talk about it. You forgot to hit the like button. Well, Bison, get back there and do it, please. Everybody, please hit that like button. Monk. Good to see you, man. Um, so this is a real phenomenon. Sometimes I go places with my son, or I go places with Johnny, or I go places with my girlfriend and my and her son. You know, my Huxley. And there's there's a part of us that in everything we do, we want to say, we want to come online and go, "Hey, we're going to be in such and such a town. If you're there, you know, maybe look us up." And we try to do this when we're in a position. We try to do this as often as possible. But sometimes what ends up happening is we kind of make it a family thing, and I've done it with Johnny more often than I've done it with Quibs, where we do something with just the two of us. And I know it steps on the feelings of people all the time. And I know I didn't think about it. Honestly, I didn't get an email until afterwards. And it was probably from you, Miss Sunrise. But actually there were three people so far that have said, you know, how close you were to us. But I'll tell you something. We drove for a long way, uh, and then the three of us went and did this and did the tour and got antisocial. I'm not going to lie to you. We really did, and it was um, you know what, you can mock me or laugh at it, but for lack of a better way to put it, this was a bonding thing, a family bonding thing. It really was. We get busy as crap between Quibs having a channel, me having a channel, and the both of us having a channel together, and Hux being in school. There are so many times people, I have not been in Hux's life for more than what, 6 months, right? Legitimately a couple of months. I mean, we first talked 6 or 7 months ago, but um, I'm now really just sort of making inroads in his life. And I was telling everybody the last time I did a lifeboat that that motorcycle I was telling you about, that Yamaha 250, the one that Sylvester Stallone used in Rambo, First Blood, the first Rambo. Having that bike has been it's really been a cool thing. If you're a guy, this will make sense to you. If you're not, it might not. But there's something about motorcycles that ride on dirt. I don't mean street bikes, but there's something about a dirt bike that turns a guy who's 70 into a 15-year-old boy simply by kicking it over and getting on it to ride. And I'm not quite that old, but I feel 14. Honest to God, I get on one of those and I feel like a kid. And I remember Johnny working with me to teach me how to ride a dirt bike. He was 4 years older than me, and he would get on there and kick it into first gear, and then he'd say, "You got to let the clutch out easy," and blah blah blah. And then he would sort of follow and watch me do what I do, and he'd say, "You can't shift. You got to keep it in first gear." And I did. I would ride around in circles for hours in first gear, and then after a few days of that, my brother showed me how to get into second gear, but it was a whole process. And I look back on it as some of the most fun I ever had. Some of the best memories I ever had in my life was with just me and Johnny and some dirt bikes. And really is just something. It's a guy thing. It really is. It's a guy thing. And if you're a dude, you probably know what I'm talking about. There isn't a guy that doesn't like dirt bikes. If he does, it's because he's never been on one, because they are just more fun than anything in the world. Um, and it's been a lot of fun to have an opportunity to play dad, for lack of a better way to put it. You know, it's been a lot of fun to be able to sort of act like Hux's dad. You know, uh, I don't think there's ever been somebody that has done something like this. He has never really had the dude in his life kind of guy. Especially not a guy, like a dude that likes things like motorcycles and football and baseball and things like that. But hey, there's Johnny Scoville. I was just talking about you teaching me to ride a motorcycle, Johnny Scoville. Um, so the reason I bring that up, is I know that I stepped on the what. Probably, I know three of you, because three of you have reached out, but I'd be willing to bet it's probably 50, right? People who could have gone to where we were, or could have driven there from a local or an area nearby. I'm guessing it's got to be 50 or more, right? And they're going to be upset. And I don't want you to be. I really don't. Here's what I will tell you. We're going to do everything within our power to see the people, the crew, not just from the lifeboat, but from Colts and Crims and from Relatable Reese. We're going to do everything within our power to make sure that we spend as much time as we can with the audience, because we dig the audience. Like, we watch us compared to other people. We interact with the audience. I mean, our whole show is interacting with the audience. It really is. Peanut says, snack tax for your flight home. You better get back to Tennessee soon. Love you and Reese. Why, thank you, Peanut. Here's the thing. I'm never going to not be here for a long period of time. That's not going to happen. If you guys have been noticing, I come here for about a month, and I go home for a little less than that, about 2.5, 3 weeks. And then I come here for a month. And you know what? It seems to be working out for me. right? And it seems to be working out for my family. Everybody seems to be pretty happy with this. Um, for those of you who have a pretty good time going over to Reddit to talk about, how Quibs has cost me, my family, and the lifeboat. Blow me where the pamper sits. You guys know this movie? Huh? You guys know the movie I'm talking about? Politically Incorrect University. Blow me where the pamper sits. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should. It's worth a very, very funny scene. But I'm not it's hysterically funny to me that it's like I've talked about this before on the boat. You remember the word gravitas, right? The word gravitas, as far as I knew, didn't exist. Nobody ever said that word. It was just not something we had ever heard of, right? It wasn't part of the lexicon, and you didn't hear it as part of day to day speech in our country for any reason till we did, right? Until the first person on the press corps said the word gravitas. By the end of the day, every single person with a microphone in the country had used the word gravitas 3 times before the end of the day. Right? It's just kind of how it goes. It's just kind of how it goes. So the narrative now, right? These people who are going over um, to talk trash about me and my girlfriend, they're trashing my girlfriend and saying she's really damaged Tommy in the boat. Make no mistake, those people hate me. They don't care about Tommy or the boat. This is just the narrative now because they think it's got traction, right? They think it has traction. Let me tell you something, people. Do you know why we're here listening to the sound of the dulcet sounds of Tommy Scoville? Do you know why you're hearing my voice right now? Because of that girl in the other room. Because I was done. I really was. I was done. I was burned out and I was done. And she talked me into coming back. And she talked me into coming back for the boat, which is really ironic because now people say she killed the lifeboat. Diamond Dallas Page, ex AM wrestler, lifesaver. I'm gonna check out the Arthur Borman story. DDP's mission: help rebuild the one society rejected. I love that. I really do. I love that. I think that's a very cool concept. You just noticed Moosey? Oh, he's on the floor currently. Um, he's at my feet. He is such a good kitty. You can't imagine. He really is. So let's see here. Did I make a mistake yet? I feel like I did. Hold on, people. Sorry, I'm knocking the computer all over the place too. Yeah, I'm really on fire. Robert, I will give you the name of the gummies tomorrow because I don't have it here in front of me. But I will absolutely tomorrow I will give it to you. Okay, I'll write it down. And Piano Mom loves grape Pedialyte. Yeah, I don't buy it. I love you, but I don't buy it. Nobody likes grape Pedialyte. It's disgusting. It really is. It's just foul. Thank you, West Coast Fancy Nancy. You know what? I would like to be a good example to the kid. I really would. Um, I spend a lot of time thinking about the lives I damaged just being me, right? Not the people I went out of my way to try to harm, because there was a crap load of those people, right? There were people who I went out of my way to try to harm for either money or, personal reasons or whatever. But there are people that I did dirty intentionally. And then there were people whose lives I helped to destroy just because of my involvement with drugs. If you wanted to buy heroin from me, trust me, I was going to let that happen because people that bought from me, you marked up the price, right? This is these you tolerate people even if you don't like them because their money keeps you well. Does that make sense? Um, and there was a really long time, people, where uh, I'm not sure that I'm not sure I had a friend on planet Earth, right? Jack is a really solid dude. He's a friend of mine. But even when Jack being my very close friend, my best friend, uh, there was no the friendship wasn't real anymore. It's amazing how far drugs will take you off of your game. You were the girl that wouldn't jump the bike over the dirt ditch. Okay. Thank you, Robert. I hope that that's the case. I hope that I have an opportunity to be a father figure to him. Hey, Nick, good to see you. I really do hope that that's the case, and I hope that I'm able to make some headway because um, it's another really incredible example about what can happen with a cult. Right? You see the damage. Now, Hux wasn't in a cult, right? He didn't. He never got put on the cans. I think maybe once, right? His grandfather bought him a course or whatever, but he wasn't on course. He wasn't in there doing this stuff every day. But it doesn't matter. You understand? It goes to show you that you're going to endure things because of what mom and dad do, the sins of the father, right? The sins of the mother. Whatever's going on, these second generation and third generation survivors. To me, this is the offensive thing. I don't care if you want to join a cult. I don't. Has nothing to do with me. You want to piss your life away in a cult? Knock yourself out. But you shouldn't be able to breed. Just being serious. Shouldn't be able to breed because your children don't have that. Now, I'll get some emails from people who will say, "Well, what about Catholics, right? What about someone who's raising their kids Catholic? What's the difference between that and cult?" Well, here's the thing: you guys can argue whether or not you think one religion is more solid than another religion, or if one makes is more like a cult or whatever. But to me, it's pretty basic stuff, right? I don't know anybody that tried to leave the Catholic Church only to be fair gamed. Do you know anybody that decided they weren't going to go to Our Lady of the Snows anymore? They was going to start going to a different Catholic church, or just quit going to church altogether, and they got fair gamed. People started going through their trash, right? Started making websites about them, talking about them being child molesters or whatever the case may be. How their kids, their kids start making videos about them. The cult really goes out of their way to damage people. Yeah, really does. It's ugly stuff. We've never seen other religions do that. Have you? Have you ever seen the Catholic Church do that? Now, someone's going to say, but the Catholic Church did this and covered it up. No joke. Absolutely that. By the way, I'm not a Catholic. Just happen to be pulling this church out because they're an easy target. Yeah. The cult of Scientology is a frightening thing. I don't like seeing truthfully, I was raised in the church, right? I've been pretty open and honest about this. I was raised in the church. If I could go back and do it all over again, right? I wouldn't change anything. But I'll tell you this, I bucked it hard, really, really hard. I didn't just sort of get away from my faith. When I got away from my faith, I shoved all in to the whole criminal thing. That was the coincidence, coincidentally or not, whatever. But um, when I stopped believing, I decided that I was going to be a criminal for the rest of my life. This is just who I was. It was going to require $700 a day to come up with to stay well and dope, and I was going to come up with that. And if that meant I had to hurt people or I had to steal from people or whatever I had to do, I was cool with that. I was completely cool with that. Sadly, that's the truth. Moose really is a cutie, by the way. Do do do. Well, thank you. And West Coast to Fancy Nancy says, just because. I love that. You know what? B. Hendrick says, thank you, Matthew, for sharing your seed creation with the world. And big respect, Johnny. You know what? People, if you don't know what they're talking about, you should go over to Chase the Heat and check this out. You guys probably have all heard of what is supposedly the hottest pepper on earth, right? Uh, you know the name of it. Burns the back of your throat. Tastes like crap. Tastes like they burnt it. It's just a very bitter pepper, but you know what I'm talking about. It's supposed to be the hottest pepper in the world. Blah blah blah. But there's a hotter one out there. But the cat that came up with that first one has made a fortune. A fortune. Right. And he's got one that's supposed to be even hotter. And he's not letting the seeds out. He's not letting any, supposedly it's just being used for sauces. Know what I'm saying? Yeah. Let go of it, kind of a thing. But anyway, this cat grows a pepper that's hotter than anything on earth, right? The legend himself, Johnny Scoville, eats it and says, holy hell, everything I thought about hot just changed. I know Johnny, right? I know him better than you. I promise. There's never been an epiphany for Johnny where everything he knew about hot changed. Not in the time I've known him. So this was a shocker for me. And then to find out that the cat that grew it isn't going to go the route of the other dirtbag and say, well, I've got the hottest pepper in the world. I'm not even going to let anybody get the seeds, right? I'm going to go into a top secret mode and I'll let this go into a couple of different hot sauces, but blah, blah, blah. Now, this cat said, send me a self-addressed stamped envelope and I'll send you the seeds. Really is pretty damn cool. Honestly, pretty damn cool. You want the hottest pepper? Yeah, go ahead. Take it. I'll give it to you. I love it, man. I really do. I think it's super classy. Such FOMO. I'll never get to go to a meetup. Well, don't be silly. Of course you will. Of course you will. Elena, don't be silly. Of course you will. Well, I have a lot of friends in that part of the world. I can't go to your country, but I can get damn close to it, right? There are other countries I can get to that will let me in that are really close to your country. So at some point, I'm going to get over there. I promise you. You know what? What a great way to say it. What Reese and Huxley have brought into your life and what you have brought into theirs is immeasurable. You know what? I think that there's really something to that. I really do. West Coast Nancy says, leave Reese and Tommy alone. My favorite love story of the year. Well, thank you. Trish in Minnesota says, Tommy, God allowed you to go through what you have so you can help me and others. So thankful. Well, thank you, Trisha. Thank you. It means a lot to me. And I agree. I'm not trying to shove my faith down anyone's throat, but I remember very distinctly, and I've talked about this on the boat before. I remember having a conversation with my mentor, and I said, I had a look on my face, and he said, life's pretty good. I've been sober a long time. I don't remember, 6 months, 8 months, something like that. And he goes, what are you bummed out about, man? He says this. All right. When I get angry, Quibble talks about it too. Right here, like I start looking like a Cro-Magnon, right? Everything kind of gets, but Q used to call me on it all the time and he'd go, why are you doing that thing with your face? Right? What are you angry about? And I'd say, no, it's nothing that there's anything that's bothering me, but I used to really struggle with the concept of sitting in front of, and I'm sorry, people, but this is who I am. I can't not discuss this or it won't make sense. I'm a believer, and I believe wholeheartedly that someday I'm going to sit in front of the Creator, and there's going to be a reckoning of what I did with my time on this planet. And when Q was looking at me and I had that look of concern on my face, what I was thinking about was I pissed away the first 46 years of my life. Right. And I could hear my Lord and Savior's voice going, what did you do with the gifts I gave you? Because you can talk. Right. Yeah. And you can make people listen. Something you're good at. I'm a great communicator. What did you do with the gifts I gave you? And I was going to be able to go, well, I robbed a crap load of banks. I did a ton of drugs and I lied to everybody I met for the first 46 years. And Hugh's response was, hey, man, this is your resume. The reason people are going to listen to you when you talk about drugs and alcohol is because you didn't go to some college or 2-year community school and say, hey, I got a certificate, right? You're going to talk about things like bank robbery and gun running and right, that you got saved by a black man in a federal prison. If you know anything about federal prisons, whites and blacks are not, we're not hanging out, right? So makes the story kind of odd, um, but yeah, uh, I think that there really is something to going through. Um, I I was going to reach a point where I believe wholeheartedly, and you don't have to agree with me, but I do believe I'm going to stand in front of my creator, right? And basically, there were two options, and one was, hey, I pissed away the first 46 years of my life, and there's nothing I can do about it. The other option was to say, that first 46 years, I took every day of that, right? Everything I learned by being the world's biggest screw up. And I've done everything in my power to make sure other people don't make the same mistakes that I did, right? And I don't care who those people are. I don't care what color they are. I don't care what their religion is. I don't care if they like me or hate me, right? The cost of admission is don't be an ass. If you're going to treat me like an asshat, I'm not going to work with you. But there's a lot of people that don't like me that I work with. I mean, it's not, you don't have to like me to get sober, I promise. Laura Lou says haters gonna hate. Yeah, they are. My sister George, good to see you. Justine, how are you? That's right. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Sounds like one of the Beatitudes, right? Good for you, Miss Sunrise Dawn. She says, I'm realizing lately that there's some trauma in my past I haven't dealt with. Putting it out here to hold myself accountable. I need to get back into therapy. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And until you can, right? Journal. Become your own therapist. Start journaling. Start writing about these things. Start peeling the onion. My email, TommyScoville@gmail.com. My name at gmail.com. Ooh, do, 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 do. Yes. Thoughts and prayers, Miss Sunrise Dawn. You all are entitled to live your truest, authentic lives, learning, communicating, and loving in real time. I have learned and grown from all of you. Be blessed and well as you evolve as a team. Maureen, how cool. What a cool thing to say, man. Brucey says, honestly, Tommy, how does Scientology still exist? Well, here's the deal. Um, they were very good at what they did, right? In the time before the cell phones, they were king. They really were. They were excellent at intimidating their enemies, and that included the Internal Revenue Service. Right? The IRS caved and gave them tax-free status, and that money growing tax-free, right, built a hell of a war chest for that cult. But there's almost nobody in it. You understand? There really is almost nobody in it. There are 150,000 jesters that we know of, right? That's a drop in the bucket when you think of 330 million people in the US. But what are there for Scientologists? 1% of that? Seriously? I mean, are there 15,000 active Scientologists? I'd be shocked if there is, for real. I think the only way that they're staying in business these days is because they bring in slave labor, right? They bring people in from other countries who sign that billion-year, and they're using all of the money from all of the people that have been ripped off in the past to prop this thing open. I remember going places with quibs and looking inside. There's nobody in the buildings. They're empty. They tinted the glass so people couldn't see in because they don't want everyone to know that there's not even anybody at the orgs. It'll go away. Brewsty, it will go away. This is going to kill it. The cell phone's going to kill it. I promise you. You were raised in the Catholic Church. and I didn't raise my children that way. Christine Baker, you know what? I think a lot of people can say the same sentence, whether or not the word Catholic Church is in it. But so many of us, I think we get to a point and we go, I don't think they did a great job with this particular aspect of raising me. I'm not going to do that to my kids. There are some things religiously with how I was raised that if I could go back, uh, I think I would have been better off if I had been done differently. And I've been open and honest with my family about it. And amazingly, I'm still of that same faith, but I got so far away from it, so far askew. And then I set out to try to be able to prove that it didn't exist. And I did it to be a dick. But by the time it was over, I found my faith. It's kind of how it went down for me. CBC just watched Funny Farm. Thanks for a reminder of how funny it is. Oh, okay. Thank you, Cindy. Well, then you saw me on there a couple of times. Yeah. You're right. Allison Metcalf Palumbo, you're absolutely right. Hill hath no fury says even more sadly, it's all too common. Yeah. Kim Roy says I was half raised Catholic. Fighting with the priest was my favorite pastime. That's funny. Sorry. Robert Hall says, Tommy, what I find incredible is after being in Scientology for 35 years or more, I find it incredible that she has expressed an interest in learning about God. You know, here's the thing. She's probably going to sound, I don't know how to say this, so I'll just say it because it's just going to sound wrong and rotten and awful. But none of you know who she is. You really don't. And that's weird because what you see is what you get. It really is. What you see is what you get. But there's a depth to my girlfriend that I don't think the average person ever sees. And it's a bummer because she's funny as hell. And unfortunately, I think we concentrate on that. But she's an incredibly deep thinker. Truly an incredibly deep thinker. And I find that some of my greatest conversations of my life have been with Quibs. And I wish everybody could see her the way I do. Hold on a second. I'm just flying through to leave a thumbs up, but I heard you say that Reese hasn't been beneficial. Is that what you heard about that? Did you guys catch that? This person's flying through. Black Boots is flying through. Black Boots, you and I have gotten along great in the past. I didn't say anything about Reese not being beneficial. Reese has been more beneficial to me in my life than anything that I could possibly think of. So I don't know how you got that or what you think I said that would lead you to that. But my God, please, please, I assure you. Yeah. Thank you, Tony Suter. Good to see you. Glad you're here. She's the fact that Quibs is open to learning about God is and I know that there's a group of people out there who are Christians, right? Or call themselves Christians or whatever, who are rooting really hard for my girlfriend to become a Christian, right? It's human nature. I'm not mad at anybody for that. But if that's you, go ahead and pray about it. Okay? Prove your faith. Pray about it. Instead of trying to do anything about it or pray about it. This is someone that spent 35 years in a cult. How bad do you think I would like to go in and just talk about God with her for 6 days straight? You can't think of anything I'd rather do than go in and talk to her and her boy for a week about theology of all kinds. There's nothing I would rather do. Here's the deal. If you just survived a cult, right? One that you lived in and you were holding the cans and doing all of this, and you found out that Big Bean's grill was full of shit and everything that he was saying was BS, right? You think I want to jump all over that and start talking about burning bushes and people walking on water and virgin birth, right? Rising from the dead. By the way, I believe in everything I just said. But if you're talking to somebody who just left the cult and you start dropping those gems, let's be really honest, people. It requires a good deal of faith to believe any of those things I just said, right? I have that faith. No big deal. But I don't know that that's what I want to do to somebody who's 35 years out of a cult in her first year and a half out. Now, I answer every question that she brings up about religion every single time I get the chance. What I don't do is beat my agenda down her throat. If she asks a question, I answer it, right? And I do it in such a way that you would think I was a somewhat casual observer. I will say to her, "This is what I believe," right? This is what my faith, the dictates of my faith are this. I do not try to push it on her. And there's nothing in the world that would make me happier. I'm not kidding you either, by the way. I literally mean nothing on this planet would make me happier. And maybe there's a life lesson in that, right? Whether it's Christianity or whether it's politics or whatever it is that you believe so strongly in, right? Shoving it down someone's throat almost always destroys relationships. The one thing that I really would hate is for any of my beliefs to cause quibs to move farther away from God. That would really be a bummer for me. And there are people. I mean, I got some ugly emails over the weekend, and some text messages from people that just say, I'm not doing enough as a good Christian. I'm not doing enough to help her or doing enough to admonish her for things that she says on the channel. I should be crapping on her because she said some things that were not theologically that didn't make the people happy theologically. They feel like Reese is being blasphemous or bad mouthing the Lord or whatever. You know what, people? If you're a Christian, right? If you call yourself a Christian and you're a real, right, a real Christian, you pray for people like that, right? When someone does something that is probably offensive to your God, why not say a prayer for that person? Because that would really be Christian, right? And that's not really what you want to do. You want to use your Christianity as a flag to slap somebody in the face with it. I got no respect for that. None. I've met 3 or 4 people in my life whose faith absolutely impressed me to the point where I wanted what they had. I looked at them and thought, that person's got it all together. Everything, like this person has life together. This person has it all figured out, right? 3 of them over the course of of my life. 3 people who were believers that just really, in every way, shape, and form, just seemed to be enlightened. And none of them ever told me they were a good Christian. In fact, none of them ever told me they were a Christian, period. I'm always freaked out by that. Guess what else? I don't care what you sleep with. If you come up and say, "Hi, how you doing? I'm a gay so-and-so." Yeah, I like vagina. I don't introduce myself like that to people. I'm not being disrespectful, for real. I don't give a crap who you sleep with. I don't. And if you feel the need to tell me that you're gay, then what you're saying is gay's way different than straight. It's so much different than straight that I got to mention it. And in my eyes, it ain't any different. All right, maybe there's something wrong with me, but I don't see it. I don't think it's worth mentioning. I really don't. I love Q. He's my best friend on earth. If I said I love my black friend Q, sounds weird, doesn't it? I bring up the fact that he's black because it's such a huge part of the story of the fact that the two of us had to do this in a federal prison, a black guy and a white guy. Really, really makes the story considerably more unique. But I don't care that he's black. You may not believe that. The only time it ever comes up is when there's a racist asshole involved. No joke. I can easily forget whatever color the cat is, and we're just two brothers until some loser drops the N word, and then I'm right back to remembering what color he is. Yeah. Judy Lee says, I absolutely knew you would be the best for Huxley. He needed you so bad. Well, thank you. You know, I don't know that I've done a whole lot yet. I mean, we spend a lot of time together, but I wouldn't start patting me on the back just yet. You know what I mean? I'm just starting out, people. We'll see how I do, though. I would definitely like to, keep putting the effort in. TD Razzle Dazzle, what a beautiful thing to say. My God, what a beautiful comment. Tommy, you are a living example of what it means to receive God's forgiveness. Now you share that love with others. I really love that. I really do. I love that. Um, it's, it's really a beautiful thing to say, Didi Razzle Dazzle. Thank you. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but it's the truth. It's absolutely the truth. It's in the book, but I had an epiphany, right? My life changed while I was hanging by my wrists, right? And a group of guys, I would say there was probably a dozen of them, right? Maybe 13 of them, 14 of them, somewhere in there, would come by as they were doing their shift. I was hanging like this from a cage, from a bar above my head. I was inside of a small little phone booth like cage, but I was hanging like this. And the door of the cage was wide open. And at first, right, you just keep your hands above your head. You're not hanging there. You just keep your hands up. But you can only do that for so long. And then your arms, you literally can't keep them up anymore. It's just impossible. And by hour 3 or 4, I mean, I'm hanging. My legs are shot. I mean, I'm just done. I'm basically just hanging by my arms. And each time these cops came by, a couple of shots to the side. I've talked about this on the boat before. I pissed blood for 2 weeks. It was really bad. I mean, they beat on me. And there was a guy that was coming back in to take another turn on me. I don't know how many times this guy had come in and punched me, 3 or 4 different trips. So he had been there most of the day. And it was, I started to pray for him. I swear to you, I started to pray for him. And I did it. I wasn't trying to get his attention. I didn't want him to hear me or anything else. It wasn't supposed to be audible, right? It was just, I was getting a little punchy. And it was just kind of loud enough, but he heard me say, because I prayed that God would give the guy a safe trip home. You may not believe that, but I did. You know what, God, to give him a safe trip home, protect him on the way home. And this cat caught it out of his ears and said, what'd you say about my home? Right? Like jumped my shit, thought, he's like, you threatening me? What about my home? And I said, no, man, I wasn't threatening you. I was praying for you. I hope you get home safely, man. And he got pissed. He got really pissed. He thought I was, so he punched me, gave me a good one on the side. And it took the wind out of me. It took me a second to get back enough wind to speak to him. But I said, no, man, for real. I don't want anything to happen to you. I want you to arrive home safely. I want you to be there for your family and for everybody. And so you may not believe that, but that's what I was doing as I was praying for you. And I'll never forget it. I really won't. I'll never forget it because I made that cat wildly uncomfortable. I did. I made that dude like otherworldly uncomfortable. Telling him I was going to pray for him messed him up. Honestly, if I had spit at him, it wouldn't have done anything. Right? Cursed at him, all those things. But yeah, him hearing me pray for him bummed him out. It really did. And I'll tell you something. You may not believe this, but this is the truth. I was hold on one second. I was in a different prison, right? So when I was getting punched, I was in Arizona. I was at the Federal Correction Institute in Phoenix. Then fast forward years later, and I had gone around the system, but now I was back in Arizona at the Federal Correction Institution at Tucson, right? But they had moved the cop from Phoenix to Tucson. So when I came onto the yard, the cop was looking at me, and 9 years had gone by, 10 years had gone by. It's been a long time. And I also was bald, instead of having hair. Things had definitely changed. But the cop was looking at me like he knew who I was. And I go, you recognize me, boss? And he goes, I feel like I know you from somewhere. I said, yeah, I prayed for you that you were going to have a safe trip home and that nothing bad would happen to you. You remember? And he had a look on his face like he had no idea what I was talking about, right? Like I'm just an idiot. He had no clue what I was talking about. And then you could see it, right? Like a light switch, like a light bulb went on in the guy's head, and he realized who I was. And I swear to you, you may not believe this, but he came up to me and said, I have thought about you hundreds of times since that day. And I said, you have? He said, I really have. Um, he said, when it was all said and done and it was over, he said, I really felt bad. He said, I know that a bunch of people punched you. He said, and I don't know if you were praying for all of them. He said, but it really messed me up. And I said to him, mess you up enough to talk to God, right? Did it actually get you going down that rabbit hole, or were you just thinking about me? And he said, no, to be really honest, I was thinking about God. And I don't know if anything ever came of it. But you know what? Whether or not anything happened with that cat, whether or not it was a blip on the radar, not a blip on the radar, uh, it was the moment that I became free. I'm not kidding. I had a lot more prison to do. I mean, I had a lot more prison to do. It would be a decade more behind bars. But everything changed in that moment. I'm not kidding you. And here's why, right? Here's why everything changed. Because as these guys are coming by, I mean, one good punch in the side after another, right? Only one dude punched me in the face. Everybody else just punched me in the body. I guess they didn't want to mark me up. You know what I mean? So one guy came in and took a phone book, and I mean, beat the piss out of me with this phone book for probably 2 minutes. And every time you get hit with a big phone book in the side, man, it takes the wind out of you. It sucks. It really does. But while these guys were beating the piss out of me, the last guy had hit me, and he walked out of the room, and I was hanging there by my arms, and I couldn't feel my arms at all. Nothing. In fact, all of the pain in my body was gone. It all went away. And I know from my brother, and especially from my brother with what he does with peppers, eventually your body takes over to protect you. And that's what happens. I was in enough pain where my body went, all right, we're going to give him enough, man-made, personally made opiates, right? They were going to give me chemicals from my own body to deal with the pain. And when those kicked in, I felt nothing, right? I couldn't feel my arms above my head. I didn't feel like I was hanging there. I didn't feel like I was getting hit. And I remember thanking God that the pain was over, because it had been hurting so damn bad. And I remember thanking God that the pain was over. And as I hung there, I thought to myself, I'd like to kill these guys. Right? I mean, that's what I thought. And there were at least 3 of the cops I knew by name, right? I knew who these guys were. And I was fantasizing about it. I'm not kidding. I was fantasizing about all the different ways I could pull that off, right? Like I would get out, and then I would come back to Arizona, and I would wait in the parking lot. When these scumbags left to come home from work, I would follow them. And I wouldn't do anything that day, right? I would just get the routine down. And I'm not kidding. I'm hanging there with my hands, fantasizing about this, right? And while I'm literally, planning how I'm going to take these guys out, it occurred to me that I wasn't feeling any better, right? And that even if I could whack one of these dudes, it probably wouldn't make me feel a whole lot better about the situation or about anything that happened, right? I hit a cop. That's legit. I shouldn't have done it. He was a dick, but I hit a cop. You can't do that. You can't, right? So what they were doing to me, they were retaliating because I hit a staff member. I'm not saying that what they did is legit. It's not. But I knew what was going to happen to me if I hit a cop. There was not a doubt in my mind what was going to happen to me if I hit a cop. I made a bad choice, right? I made a really stupid decision. And while I was hanging there by my arms, the epiphany came that, you know what? I can't kill these people. I'm handcuffed, right? I'm handcuffed to a metal rail. And I'm looking at 10 years piss minimum before I'm walking out of prison anyway, right? These guys will all be retired. I'll be at some other yard. I couldn't probably find my way back to this, prison if I had to, even if you drive in the middle of the city. And as I'm sitting here having these thoughts, it occurred to me, right? It occurred to me that you're powerless. As an inmate, you're powerless. As a drug addict, you're powerless, right? You can't do anything to beat a substance that isn't beatable, right? Well, I can't buck a system that no one's ever beat. It's never going to happen. I can get pissed off and punch a cop. I'm just going to do more time, right? There's no winning from that standpoint. It's not a possibility. So as I was sitting there getting really frustrated by that concept, so I get my ass kicked and there's no recourse, there's no nothing. I can't do a damn thing. For real. I never had felt more impotent in my life. There's nothing I can do about this. And then like a blast, right? For real, like a blast from left field, it occurred to me. The control that I had was not letting these guys make me hate them. Honest to God, there was nothing else on planet Earth I could control. Nothing. I'm hanging from my hands, right? They're treating me like a piñata for laughs. I've been there for hours. Cruel and unusual punishment, 20 minutes of that was cruel and unusual punishment. By hour 2, what they were doing is really messed up, right? By hour 3 or 4, this is sick. It really is. It's sick. And they were having their effect. Oh, yeah. I was fantasizing about taking them off planet Earth. Honestly, I was having gory fantasies about how I was going to remove these people from this planet. That's not particularly healthy. I don't have to tell you that, right? And it's still impotent. It's a fantasy while you hang from your hands. Nothing's happening. Nothing. I could not do anything to take solid action in any way. And then it occurred to me. You know what these assholes want? They want me to hate. They want me to hate. They would come in and talk about my, what started it was them talking about my wife, right? The guy said, you know, your wife's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen come through visiting, ever. And I said, thank you. It's a very kind thing to say. I appreciate that. And he said, is she an attorney or something like that? And I said, yeah. He goes, in Vegas, right? I said, no, Northern Nevada. Reno is not actually anywhere near Vegas. I said, I live up near Reno, not Vegas. And that was when he did well, maybe I ought to stop by and F her. And I went, what? Like, why would you say something like that, man? I've never been disrespectful to a cop. Why would you do that? Well, I didn't hit him that day. It took weeks of him saying dumb thing after dumb thing after dumb thing. And I didn't make the right decision. I made the wrong decision. Massively screwed up my life. I spent at least another 1.5 years in prison for this. Right? 1.5 years I could have been with my dad before he died. I made a really bad decision, but I hit this cop with everything I had. I mean, I really did. Palms down, followed through. It was a good, solid punch. And I knocked him unconscious, cut his face. It was all bad. He was bleeding all over the place. So pepper sprayed, beat on, stripped naked, and hanging by my hands. the epiphany comes to me that what they want is for me to hate them. They're feeding off it. A guy would come punch me in the side and I'd call him a you know what sucker, right? Or a mother scratcher or whatever. I would curse at these guys and spit the nastiest vitriol, just hate filled tirades, and they laugh hysterically. Or come back and punch me one more time in the stomach, can't breathe, just awful. And then it occurred to me, no joke. No joke. They want me to hate him. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I can take control over this situation. I can't get myself to quit hanging, right? I can't stop these guys from punching me, but I can stop them from making me hate anything. And, I'm in there mumbling. What'd you say? Just threaten me? No, man, I'm praying you get home safe. Smart ass. No, I'm not being a smart ass, man. I want you to make it home to your wife and to your family, man. They deserve that. I'm not joking. Man, I ain't got no beef with you. I'm praying you get home safely to your wife and kid. You may not believe me, but that's what I'm praying. And every single dickhead that came across my path, that's what I did. And there was a bunch of them. The rest of that day was that way. But I'll tell you something else. I've told the story before. They would come in and they would say, you want air or water? Because you've been pepper sprayed in the face, right in the eyes. Air or water? Air means they're not going to touch you. You just sit there and you go, oh God, right? And you tough it out. And that's what most guys do, because the water actually makes it way worse. It spreads the oil of the capsaicin all over you. And it kicks the heat on. You're okay, Black Boots. I'm sorry. I'm sensitive. I apologize. But it kicks the heat on. So I said to them, I'll take air. I don't want any water. I'll take air. And I had been pepper sprayed in the face. I was really, really hurting. And a black woman came in and she said, oh, what happened to you, son? And I told her what happened. I said I punched a cop and started going through the story. And she said, you know what? She said, I got a half a gallon of milk left from my lunch. Let me go get it. And I don't know what I was thinking, right? What was going through my head at the time, because I didn't realize what milk did for capsaicin at the time. So I was thinking, what the hell is she talking about with the milk, right? And I'm naked. She's just standing there looking at me. Nothing I could do about it. They had taken my clothing. And I wasn't having a good day as far as junk goes. If you think about it, I've been pepper sprayed. My had disappeared, a few hours earlier. But she was such a kind person. She came up and said, I'm going to give you this milk. Dump it on your eyes. And I looked at her like this. I'm handcuffed. Right? How the hell am I going to dump it on my eyes? So she came over and poured the milk into my eyes. And I can't tell you how much it took the pain away. I mean, it really did knock a ton of the pain out. It did wonders for helping. They would have been really angry too if they had known she did it, but it really did help. I believe that Reese will find her own path. I really wish that, or I should say, I hope that I will be a part of that. Prayer request now. It's a great comment. And I agree. I absolutely agree. Thank you, Corvette 7. Shannon Smith says it is so difficult to deal from the damage done in cults, and that is all she knows. I'll tell you something. This isn't going to make me. I'm gonna tell this story. You ready? When I was a youngster, when I was a very, very young boy, I was single digits, right? So I had to be 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there. I went with my older sister, not her fault. She just didn't know any better. But I went with my older sister to a youth group, a church youth group thing. And she took me because she was stuck with me and she wanted to go see this boy. And the only way she was going to get to see him is if she took her baby brother along for the ride. So my sister saddled me up and brought me with her. And here's the trouble: that night at the local recreation center is where the churches were meeting. It wasn't at the church. The youth group was meeting there. And they were showing a movie called Like a Thief in the Night. Now, some of you may be familiar with this film. Some of you may not be familiar with this film, but know enough of biblical, stuff from the Bible to know what the thief in the night references to, right? But this is a story of the end times, and it's a story of the rapture. Now, whether you believe in this or you don't believe in it is your business. But for those who are unaware of what it is, it's the second coming of Christ, right? And they teach that he will come to judge the quick and the dead. Some will be left in the field and some will be taken. Two people out in the field working side by side, one will disappear, right? This is how they explain it. Um, to make a long story short, it was a frightening film for a 5-year-old, right? Um, sorry. Yeah. Well, this was a frightening film for me to watch as a 5-year-old, and there was a lot of violence in it. But the overwhelming takeaway of this movie was that um, there were people that were going to get left behind, right? There were people that were going to get left behind, and it wasn't going to be particularly pleasant for them. That was the takeaway of the film. Yeah, no big deal, especially if you're an adult. No big deal. And Casillas, thank you so much, Ann. My goodness, those are hot sauce packets. 10 of you just turned green. So here I am watching this thing, and it scared me beyond belief, people. It scared me beyond belief. And the trouble was that the scared didn't stop when I left. Do you understand? I was a very young kid. And what ended up happening was if my family said we'll be home at 4:15, at 4:20 they weren't there, I was convinced that God had come and I got left behind. And this was traumatic as shit for me as a kid. It's one of the reasons I ended up on dope. Real true story. And it pushed me so far away from the church, you have no idea. I hated it. Hated it. And this was a real problem. It lent toward my life of crime, right? My life of everything else that I do that I did poorly. Hey, Lily, um, this was an issue. Yeah, Corvette 7. Well, it frightened the hell out of me too. It scared the crap out of me, Corvette. I'll tell you what, it really scared the crap out of me, but it continued to scare me. And West Coast Fancy Nancy went through the same thing. You know what? That's to me, I'm sorry. To me, that's as bad as a cult, right? Didn't make them bad people, didn't make it a bad religion, just an unfortunate movie that I should not have seen at that age, right? But it jacked my head up, really jacked my head up. And the first chance I got to try drugs, I found that when I got stoned, I didn't worry about it. They could show up 3 hours late. I didn't give a shit. Well, that helped. Boy, did that help, right? Drugs were great. They were a huge benefit for me. Um, but so what happened to me, West Coast, is I got so far away from the church. I got so far away from all of it. I became a bank robber, right? Became the biggest dirtbag that I could become, right? The name of the movie was Like a Thief in the Night. Debbie P was the name of the movie. Kristen Melinda had a similar experience. So you understand then that these are mainstream religions. This isn't Scientology. These are mainstream religions that people go, they don't do anything to hurt kids. Right? They would never do anything to hurt kids. That hurt me. I promise you. That did an awful lot of damage to me. Um, it really did. And when I went off the deep end with drugs, and crime and all that. When I got to prison and I started to work with Q, Q was like, well, you're going to drink and you're going to do this, this, and this. I mean, you're going to eat right and do this, this, and this. You're going to be, you're going to drink this much water. You're going to work out. Because there's all of these things that he said, if you're going to be sober, you have to have the total package, right? If you're going to be successful and you're going to be sober, then you have to eat right. You got to sleep. You got to exercise. You got to do all these things. You got to journal, right? And he was breaking all of these things down. And you need to figure out what you believe. And I said, figure out what I believe. Yeah. You have to figure out what you believe. What is what's your higher power, or is there a higher power, or whatever? And I go, yeah, I did that as a kid. I'm over that shit. And he's like, what do you mean you're over it? And I said to him, I go, I got away from that when I was younger. He's like, oh, okay. Well, that's fine. Read all of the different religious journals, right? All the different books, whether it be the Bhagavad Gita or the book of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or whatever religious doctrine you happen to want to read, whether it's the Bible, whatever it is. He said, read it, tell me it's bullshit, tell me why, and go on to the next one. That's fine. But you got to find what you believe in. And I go, well, maybe I don't believe in anything. He goes, okay, that's okay. After you have looked at everything and tell me why you don't believe in any of those, we'll be good. But you're going to need to do that first. And I said, man, I don't want to do this jive crap. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with the religious end of this. I don't care. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And he said, well, then you're done. Then you're done. We're not talking anymore. Is what it is. Geoplanet Jane, I'm not going to debate you here tonight. I love you. It sure as shit is in the Bible. Sorry. I can tell you exactly where it is in the Bible. It's in the Bible. There are references made to the second coming of Christ and the rapture in the book, in the Old Testament, in Daniel. There are so many places in the Bible that it talks about. And people say this to me all the time. With all due respect, read the book. Read the book. People who tell me this, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Here's a real added benefit. I got thrown in a special management unit, and they said the only book you could have is the Bible. Couldn't have any other. That's it. No radio, no nothing. You got the Bible. So I at least said, can I get one with a concordance, right? So a little study Bible or whatever. And I read it from start to finish. And when I got to the end, I'd start at the beginning again. And I did that for 2.5 years because that was it. Yeah. Trust and believe they talk about it, Geoplanet Jane, I promise. Doesn't necessarily mean you got to agree with it, but they do talk about it. Hill was hath no fury was a Mormon. Yeah, it's hard. West Coast says, I used to be so afraid of God. Yeah, me too. The religious abuse I endured caused that. When I learned that God was love and unconditional, it changed me. Me too. Right? Me too. And here's the thing. People, Christianity is not popular right now. Really not popular right now, right? We've never had it this bad as a religion. You can't bash any other religion. If I come on here and I start thrashing any religion, I will be canceled, and I will be canceled quickly, unless it's Christianity. I could come on here and shit all over Christianity. No one will say a thing. Sorry, it's the truth. Jews are having it pretty tough right now too, but more as a people than as a religion. But drugs and alcohol are a cover-up, right? Nancy Couch, I'll tell you what. For me, drugs and alcohol allowed me to feel comfortable in my own skin. That's what drugs did, and not alcohol. Alcohol did that for me. But I felt comfortable in my own skin only when I was high. Now, a huge part of feeling uncomfortable in my own skin was the fear that I was going to that I was going to be left behind, that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't going to, I'm not gonna, and that was a terrifying thing for me. It really was. Nice to meet you too, Tampa Bay. Yeah. Drugs help people feel comfortable, right? It takes away. That's what drugs do. They give you nothing, but it takes away. So it takes away the memory of being abused, or it takes away the the fact that dad wasn't there for you, or it takes away something, but it never gives. Drugs give nothing; they take away. People say they give me confidence. No, they take away fear. Right? Honestly, it may seem like six of one, half dozen of another. It's not. Drugs give nothing. Drugs take. That's all that they do. Right? Plain and simple. That is all that they do. Do, 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 do. 12-hour shifts. Please be safe. Arctic Norway. Please be safe. That's a long shift. Sweet dreams, West Coast Fancy Nancy. I hope you sleep well. Sorry, hold on one second. You know what, Mock? I dig you. I dig you. That's the problem. If those that scream the loudest about representing God are the reason Jesus flipped those tables, and if you guys know that reference, Mock is referring to Christ at about Huxley's age, um, seeing the money changers in the temple and losing his mind over it and trashing the place. Yeah, that's right, trash in the place. Sound very Christ-like, does it? Love a dad is what it was. Love a dad. But so uh, that epiphany, that day, the reason we're here right now, the reason we're all having this conversation is because of whatever you want to call it, right? You can call it enough endorphins coursing through my brain that I had a moment of clarity. You could call it being high on drugs. I mean, it was my body's drugs, but I had enough endorphins kicking through my body that I was no longer in pain from hanging from my arms, right? Which is fairly impressive. It's a decent amount of dopamine. Christy Never in Newton, thoughts and prayers with you. Geoplanet Jane, it's a very interesting subject. Um, when we talk about things like the Council at Nicaea, or when we talk about Constantine or King James, or any of the people that changed the original Bible, the Bible had a lot more books, and they pared it down to Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, right, all the way through the first, the Old Testament, and then the New Testament from Matthew to Revelation. There are people who say that Revelation was added at the Council of Nicaea, and that it was insisted upon there. Don't know the answer to that. I've actually tried to deep dive the crap out of this, and the truth is, there are people who claim this. There are people who make that statement. It doesn't. I don't know the truth. I don't. I don't. And I know that. Right? I know that. I don't pretend to either. Here's the way I look at it. The God I believe in gave me that book with those books in it, right? He allowed that to be the representation. Did men screw it up? I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. But the God I believe in can control, right, things. And if he wanted different books represented, he would have made that happen. So for me, and I know, probably sounds like voodoo and mumbo jumbo, but we're here. We're here because of a miracle that day while I was hanging from my arms, while I was getting the crap kicked out of me. You can call it endorphins, right? The endorphin high, but the pain went away. And in its place, I started to pray for every cop that came in there and punched me. And not because I'm a good person, I promise you. I'm not a good person. I'm not, I assure you. But that's not why I was doing it. I was doing it because it was control. I was taking back control, right? You're not going to make me hate you, you prick, because it's what you want. It's not going to happen. So when they would come in and curse or spit, I'd go, hey man, have a safe trip home tonight. Right? Make sure nothing bad happens to you. I know you got a family, right? You want to go home to your wife and kids. Please be careful. Right. And every one of them freaked out the same way. What the hell's that supposed to mean? You threatening me? I'm hanging from my arms, bro. Yeah, I'm threatening that what? I'm going to get out of here and go see your wife and kids. I'm telling you to drive carefully. It's really what I'm going for. Hey, Corvette, I'm going to agree to disagree with you. But I'm not going to debate theology ever here with anybody because it's not a great idea. Right? It's not. Um, even if I were to win the debate, where's the benefit? What I'm going to do is run away people who are going to call me a Bible thumper or a religious fanatic or any of that. And by the way, I'm a religious fanatic. Make no mistake. Just because I'm not shoving it down your throat does not mean that it is not the guidepost at which everything I do in my life is measured by. Right? All final decisions are run through that format. And that may make some of you bummed out at me, but that's just the truth. Teresa, best of luck, hon. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm never trying to hurt you, but I'm playing to the masses. Do you understand? Make no mistake. I play to the masses. I hurt someone every single night. Every single night. I hurt somebody. And more often than not, I'm triggering 100 people a night, 200 people a night, 300 people a night. There's no winning. There really isn't. And I'll tell you something, people. It's going to get ugly in about 2 months. It's going to get ugly in 2 months. I promise. Because I'm going to come on here and I'm going to say, the drugs coming across the border, here are the two plans. This one's better than that one. And regardless of who I pick, half of you are going to hate me. But that's the most important issue in the world to me. And if I lose half of the lifeboat crew to have the other half realize what I'm saying, it's going to have to be what I do. Because I'm not going to back off of this ever. Right? The number one cause of death in our country. It's preventable. This shouldn't kill one friggin' person. And it's the number one cause of death in our country. And you may think that we don't have enemies out there, right? But if they're not our enemies, there's a country out there that happens to be making all this dope and sending it over here. And I don't think they like us much. Sorry, hold on one sec. It is all about your choice and free will. It is. It is absolutely about free will. You know what's a great piece of advice? Blessed Crochet says, I need to do everything in love. That's what Christ did. Well, it became my default setting. It really did. Justine, have a good night and be safe. Sleep well. Kristen Melinda, I'd love to debate that with you sometime. Or not debate it, because we may even be on the same side of it. But I would love to get into a discussion with you on that, because it is a fascinating choice. Certainly exists. Oh, it does. Make no mistake that free will is definitely there. And if you don't think so, go visit a prison. Everybody there exercised their free will to the point that they got arrested. Right? I promise. Allison Metcalf Palumbo, I'm so happy to hear that. Sorry. Mary Barons is not going to sleep tonight. May I make a suggestion? Because I'll be honest, this happens to me all the time. Sucks, doesn't it? But if you're one of those people, if you're a person who, when we get off the rails, we're not going to sleep before we get back on them. See, if I'm not sleeping well, right? Hold on one second. Well, you might have heard it right here because it's an absolute fact. Hold on one second. Sorry. Uh, I've heard from China through Mexico to hurt the U.S. Yeah, you probably heard it here. And the reason that I say that is because it's a fact. It's a stone cold fact. Now, China is not the only country that is manufacturing poison and sending it here. India is doing it too, right? North Korea is doing it. North Korea. Teresa, have a good night. I hope to see you back here. I love you. Take care of yourself, and I hope you get some sleep. They absolutely. So I was sending Fent here unabated. You could buy it and have it sent to your house. You didn't have to go to the dark web. You could do it on any regular above board research chemical site. It was the big hustle back in the beginning, and I was doing it. I was having dope sent here, right? Tons of it. Having it sent directly through the mail, directly to my house. Everybody seemed to be doing it. Then the new administration took over. That would have been Trump. And while he was in office, they signed a deal with the Chinese that said they would not allow fentanyl to be shipped to North America ever again. Right. Now, what they're doing instead is they're shipping the precursors of fentanyl. Right. These are analogs. This is not actually the drug. These are analogs of the drug. Does basically the same thing, but it is not alpha fentanyl, right? But what happens is they they end up. Hold on one second. Yeah. So once the administration said no more fentanyl, we thought we might be in good shape. We're not. What they did was they sent over all of this stuff, and we now we have more of it on our shores than we've ever had. Not just fentanyl, but also iso and phytonidazines, 30 times stronger than fent. Tommy, have you heard of a cognitive and brain health supplement called Prevagen? My bag from the pharmacy had an advertisement for it today. Yes, I have. I've done a little bit of researching on it, and uh, the my understanding is that it started out as a substance used in the sting of jellyfish, and it does something to stimulate the brain. There's been some positive stuff on it, but um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much double blind stuff has been done on it. Hold on. What does it mean they are shipping? It doesn't happen in a vacuum if the stuff is being ordered. Oh, Justin Ski. Okay. They're shipping it, right, to cartels in Mexico. They're shipping it over by the container carload. Now, I'm not saying that we're not the largest the largest demand for drugs on planet Earth is here in the US. Make no mistake. Uh, and I've always said that you're not going to beat the war on drugs by fighting the supply side. You have to fight the demand side. And currently, we have a huge, massive demand. Um, there's no arguing that, And I'm not trying to debate that point with you. But what I'm trying to say is this: 6 out of 10 of the doses that are getting sent over here have more than 2 milligrams of fentanyl, which is enough to kill you. As the death count has gone up, so has the strength of the product that they're sending. They've never backed off. If you're a dope dealer and you sling product that kills a couple of your clients, you make the next batch a little weaker, right? It's common sense because people who die can't keep buying your product. It also brings a lot of heat, right? Nobody wants that heat. You don't want a death on your hands, right? That's heat. You want the business to run smoothly. That's not the case. Every single batch that comes across the border was stronger than the previous one. Follow me? It's pretty ugly stuff. Well, thank you, Muffet Lou. You tried Prevagen? Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. That's what we try to do here, Justin Ski. Yeah, Robert Hall makes a great point. With Mexico being a narco state, the resolution must come from the demand side. That's exactly right. It's exactly right. And here's the thing, I'm not even mad at them. You may not believe this, but I'm not. If I lived in a country and you told me that all I got to do is take a backpack across that line, and if I could get to the other side of that line, then I could have a house for my family, trust and believe I would put on that backpack. I don't blame the guy running the dope across the border. I don't. All they're trying to do, Jane, have a good night. All they're trying to do is provide a better life for their families and their people. I'm sorry, I'm not mad at them about that. I know that it probably doesn't make people happy, right? But I'm not mad at the people that are smuggling the drugs. I understand why they're doing it. They're just looking for a better life for their family. I don't know how you begrudge anybody that. I really don't. But you know that you can spend $700 on dope in Mexico, and when it hits the United States, it'll be worth $25,000. Somebody gets caught. How fast do you think someone else is going? I'll give it a try. Right? I'll give it a try. Sam Kionis's book on the subject is the best piece I've ever read on the opiate crisis. I'm trying to remember what it's called again. Wonderland? No, I'm wrong, but it's something like that. V. McWilliams, I don't have the book here yet. As soon as the book gets here, I will let you know the name of it. VPNs since 2005 with good results, I think. VPNs, I think, are excellent inventions. You guys know what that is? That's a private networks so that you aren't being tracked. Tampa B, I absolutely love you. I couldn't love you more. I really couldn't. Tampa B is one of my favorite people on planet Earth. Not at all messed up in saying that out loud. She really is one of my favorite people on planet Earth. Yeah, the really sad thing is that you know what? Even if you want, so when I came back to religion this last time, I read everything I could. I'm not joking. I didn't go, oh, I'm going to be a Christian. I set out to go through every single religion. And the one thing that I will say about the feds is they will give you any religious book you ask for, and they'll give it to you the night you ask for it. I promise. They're tired of getting sued. You ask for anything, and they're going to get it to you. If it's a religious doctrine, they're going to get it for you. Dreamland, thank you. That's the name of the book, Krista Melinda. Dreamland was the name of the book. An amazing, amazing book. Absolutely. Mock says those drug smugglers are just part of a market that exists because there are customers. And that is the truth, right? That is absolutely the truth. But if you really want to track that all the way back, right? Our government created this drug problem. Yeah. Our government created this drug problem. They let the Sackler family hand out OxyContin, right? Like it was cotton candy. You could go in and say, I have menstrual cramps, and they would write you a prescription for 480s a day. I'm not belittling menstrual cramps, right? Or anybody's pain. 4 OxyContin 80s a day will take care of any pain on planet Earth. And they shouldn't be writing it for people who have wrist soreness, carpal tunnel syndrome, right? Sprained ankles. Sorry, menstrual cramps. 320 milligrams of OxyContin 80 a day. They were giving it out for everything. And then once everybody got addicted, right? They did what the government always does best and had a knee jerk reaction to go, all right, that's it. Now the doctors can't give out any pain meds. Then what? Now all these junkies, because that's what there are now, all these junkies went to the street looking to buy dope on the street. And they said, do you have any pills, man? I'm trying to get perk 30s. You guys got any pills? You know how often a dope dealer needs to hear that before he goes back and says, hey, man, let's get some pills. So they got pill presses. They bought the little M30 stamps, right? So that they can crank out what looks just like a Percocet 30. And there are more of them on the market today. They are flooded, right? With 60% of them being deadly. Our government helped create this demand. We did. There's no getting around that. We allowed the Sackler family to make $13 billion, killing 900,000 people. Yeah, almost 1 million at this point. Sweet, right? And now you know what we're going to do? We're going to let them keep 7. Pay a $6 billion, would it be? A $6 billion fine and keep 7 for killing 1 million people. How do I get that gig? Huh? For real. How do I get that gig? Can I do it without killing 1 million people? I just want to make the money these guys made. Do I have to kill yeah. Tommy, yes, they did along with the Sacklers. Now Big Pharma. Check out RFK Jr.'s comments that a sick child is the aim to make money. You know what? This is what started me on that rabbit hole, that deep dive the other night, right? Satku, can't sleep just listening. Won't even try to catch up. Right now, 5 a.m. here. Hey, and hugs to all on the lifeboat. Soku, hugs to you too. Hang in there. Yeah, that no point in trying to catch up at this point. It would probably be a little confusing. Sorry. Yeah, I got a pretty high pain tolerance, and what's worse is I've got such an incredible tolerance to pain medication. God help us. Well, I shouldn't say that. I used to. I haven't taken pain meds in a really long time. I don't know exactly what would happen. On the bright side, I can tell you this: they're going to close that pine box on me without me taking any opiates. Plain and simple. That's the way it goes. And now people are going to send me things tonight and say, well, what happens if you have a procedure? I'm not going to have any procedures. I'd rather be in pain, right? I'd rather be in pain than in prison. And if I end up doing opiates again, I'm going to rob banks. I'm going to go back to doing the things that I did, right? The way I win a fist fight with my substance of choice is by not getting in a fist fight with my substance of choice. So when people say stuff like, you know what, Tommy, you don't have to continue to, to talk about your past. You don't have to keep trashing yourself. You don't have to do these things. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. This is how I stay sober. This is how I've made it this long. Right. And for 30 years, I did heroin every day. The only times that I took off was when I was incarcerated, or if the cops managed to make the drug supply dry up, which they did successfully a couple of times over the 30 years. Kristen Melinda says, that's actually incredible advice. Don't get in a fist fight with your drug of choice. Well, you know what? It sounds simple, right? But I'm very, very serious about this. This was another one of those things that should be so basic, but it was an epiphany. It really was. I can win this war, right? I can beat heroin. I can win that fist fight. How? Don't get in that fist fight, right? For real. It's like, view it like Mike Tyson, right? You think Tommy Scoville could take Mike Tyson? Spoiler alert. No way, right? Mike would destroy me. However, the knowledge that Mike would destroy me would keep me from ever fighting that cat, right? I promise you, I would not put myself in a situation where that could ever happen because I'm aware of what would happen to me. That is the entire business model for my entire sobriety right there. I know what'll happen if I get into a fist fight with heroin because I tried that for 3 decades. I got up every morning and got in a fist fight with him. Every morning I said, I'm going to quit this. And heroin said, oh, no, you're not. And that went on for 3 freaking decades. Are there any pain meds you would take or consider? No. Nope. None. Yeah, none. I mean, there are non-narcotic stuff, sure, NSAIDs. I mean, I'll take all kinds of stuff like that. But an actual pain med that would work on my MU receptors, no, there's not one that I would be willing to take for any reason. This elbow is shot. This elbow is shot. Both of them are really bad off. The right one is so bad I can't straighten it out. It is not, it needs surgery, and I'm never going to get it. I'm just not. Can I take ibuprofen? Yes, I do. I do take NSAIDs. I take non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, although they're not good for you either. Barbie, I respect your beliefs. I mean that. Candy's life, I like it. Don't start none, there won't be none. It's a great way to live. Yeah, the Sacklers got in good with our government by paying for a big art museum on the mall in Washington to house their art collection called the Sackler Gallery. Well, it used to be called the Sackler Gallery. They've removed the name off of the outside of it, but you're right. It was called the Sackler Gallery. Well, you know what else they did? Geoplanet Jane. They had this really incestuous way of having. If you worked for the Sacklers and you got fired, you would go to work for the Food and Drug Administration. It just seems to be how it worked out every time. Contrarily wise, if you quit the Food and Drug Administration, you would go to work for the Sacklers. So it was a back and forth thing, one right after the other. So it, they would call up the Food and Drug Administration and they weren't biting their fingernails to see if they were, going to get a product pushed through or whatever. They're calling up and going, hey, Hal, how are you? Tommy, how you been? Good. What's it been? 3 weeks since you left here? Okay, good. I need your help. Filthy stuff, man. Filthy, filthy stuff. Does talking about the past ever damage the way you view yourself currently? You know what, Hill? Here's the thing. Um, yeah, it does. It does. I know it pisses off Quibs, and I know it bothers a lot of you too. But uh, I am a realist, right? Uh, I am absolutely a realist, and I know the things that I've done, right? And the things that the world knows that I've done are pretty ugly, but I know the things the world doesn't know, and I know that I'm not a honestly, I'm not a great human being. It's a bummer because very often people will try to make me into one. I am, and I'm not selling myself short either. To get out of prison and to get and stay sober is a big deal. To start a channel like this is an even bigger deal. And I am proud as hell of the things that I've done. I really am. And I think that I'm a much better person. And there are lives that have been greatly changed or even saved by what the lifeboat does. Those are all real things, right? Um, that said, the things that I've done have not erased some of the things that I know from my past. You know what I mean? So yeah, sometimes talking about not so much doing it here, right? Not so much doing it here, but but we're getting this boat. I mean, this book done, and Johnny and I have been working on that incessantly. And yeah, man, that that absolutely, that works me, and it does affect how I feel about myself. How about acupuncture instead of anesthesia for pain after surgery? John Hopkins has done work in this area. I have actually done some reading about that. Something that I'm willing to look into. Sorry. Hey, Johnny Scoville, what's happening? All right, Johnny, that's a wrap. I've been on here too long. Those are just things you've done, not who you are. Well, thank you, Hope Between the Dreams. And I know you're right. I know that you're right. Um, I know that you're right. 100%. It's just hard. It's hard. It's funny if I were to come out here and say, you know what? Screw anybody that says anything bad about me. I'm a great human being. People would be really bummed out about it. Um, the fact that I don't call myself a great human being bums a lot of people out. The fact that I will say, I'm not a good person. It may be the first thing I ever said on YouTube. If it's not, it's certainly in the first video where I said I'm trying. And I am. Every day I am trying to be a better version of me. That's the one thing that I can promise is that virtually every single day I am fighting to be a better version of Tommy Scoville. And that's the best that I can do. Honestly. Pretty happy with that. To me, that's harm reduction. Interesting. Here in Puerto Vallarta, right next to hold on a second. Navarrete. I used to go down to by where you live, right next to Puerto Vallarta. I used to go down to Navarrete to get dope. Used to travel down there. Here in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with major surgeries, only get Tylenol or Tramadol. Um, that is interesting. That really is interesting. Goosebumps, you're right. I'm a better person today than 10 years ago. You're absolutely right. Make no doubt about that. I am a much better person today than I was 10 years ago. And I intend to be a better person tomorrow than I am today. That is the one thing I will say that I continue to move forward on. And there's very little that I've done in the last, I don't know, since getting out of prison. There's very little that I look back on and go, boy, you know what? I'm really ashamed of that. It just hasn't been that much of it. Oh, and listen, if you happen to be listening, and you're one of those people who heard me leave messages for somebody, I left some messages for a shrew. I did, and I think I may have called her a cow. I think I may have called her a shrew. I'm not proud of any of those things. But the person that's playing those probably isn't playing you the recordings of me saying, please leave me alone. Please, I'm asking you. I'm trying to set boundaries. Please stop contacting me and leave me alone. Then I had Quibs do the same thing. I said, man, I'm going nuts. Quibs stepped in and said, hey, please leave my boyfriend alone. What are you doing? Then I blow up like an atomic bomb because the person will not leave me alone. And they decide to play all those messages for people. Well, I'll tell you what, knock yourself out, right? For real. Knock yourself out. I am what I am. You know what I'm saying? I am what I am. Trigger point injections are shots of Novocaine put through a very, very, very thin needle that they stick into your back. Well, into my back. I guess you could get it done anywhere. Too many cows in bug tussle. Well, there's a lot of truth to that. There are a lot of cows in bug tussle. We are all just human and get angry at times. Well, not me. I am the Duke of laid back. You get trigger point injections every week? Okay. Hold on. Oh, cannabis isn't legal where you're at, huh? Damn, that sucks. Because it does really help. Margie Barr says, I think I missed something. Yeah, I know how you feel. No, it's so cortisone shots are a little bit different. What they're giving you is they're giving you Novocaine. Trigger point injections are just Novocaine shots. And the concept works like this. It takes about 8 hours for the Novocaine to completely wear off. So the first time you go in and they give you the trigger point, you go and you journal about it and you say, they gave it to me at noon and at 8 o'clock, my pain was back. So they give it to you again 3 days later. If it lasts 8 hours and 10 minutes, then you're a candidate because now your brain is starting to do stuff without the drug, right? It made it longer than the 8 hours, which means you're training the brain to. And for a lot of people, this works beautifully. I actually was a great candidate for trigger point. It got to a point where I only had to have them done once a month for real, but it would be 64 shots altogether, 32 on either side of my spine. A lot of Novocaine. How long does it normally take for my gummies to kick in and make you sleepy? Uh, Within the hour, like I'm so tired right now, I can't keep my eyes open. I don't know if you can see it, but normally about 1 hour and I'm ready to go out. And that's about where I'm at right now, peeps. We've gone 2 hours and 11 minutes. I don't ever do this, but I hadn't seen everybody in a while and I missed you and wanted to say hello. So yeah, about an hour, and I'm usually good to go out. Uh, Prayer request now. Have your significant other speak to the doctor about the possibility of using a less traditional opioid for the pain management, like Suboxone or Subutex, which is the same drug, buprenorphine, but one of them has Narcan added to it to keep you from abusing the substance, to keep the drug users from abusing the substance. They add Narcan directly to the drug at a 2 to 1, right? So for every, or is it 4 to 1? 8 milligrams, yeah, 8 milligrams of buprenorphine to 2 milligrams of naloxone or Narcan. So that's the normal ratio. But there are people who use that to treat pain and it is effective for them. And if it is for you, it's a great option. So if that works for your husband's degenerative disc disease, that would be great. I know some people who are using Subutex and it is helping them tremendously. Yeah, I hate my pain, but it's not worth getting arrested over. Yeah, I get it. Hold on. Yes, Reese took a gummy and it was funny as hell. It's worthy of going and watching some of those. Yeah, you know what, Allison Meck, can you see it? You guys can see that I'm starting to do this one. I'm starting to look like Cheech from Cheech and Chong. Oh, you're welcome. Prayer request now. Again, have them talk about buprenorphine, right? That's the active ingredient in Suboxone. Buprenorphine, 6 times the strength, normally considered to be 6 times the strength of morphine. But it's a very, very unusual drug as it's not technically an opiate. It is an agonist, antagonist. Very, very unusual stuff. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Call it a night. I am Tommy Scoville, your up and coming cult leader. I will see all of you tomorrow. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody, please. God bless. Bye bye. Or maybe not. Here, let's try that again. All right, people. Have a good night.